Welcome to a special presentation from the editors of the Science family of journals. The 6 journals are published by the American Association for the Advancement of Science,
a scientific organization that supports scientists as they reach career milestones. Today we'll give you some expert advice for how best to present your research in a scientific paper.
So, of course, we all know, why do you want to publish? You want to publish because your publications as a researcher will determine who gets hired, who gets grants, who gets promoted. And the quality of the research determines where you get published, who can see your work, and how much your work gets cited. And that also uplifts your career and extends and promotes your career. So you have to publish. It's the primary document for research, and it's an evidence of your expertise. So clearly, as a researcher, you want to get published.
The first thing that's important to consider as you're preparing your paper is your audience. The obvious people in your audience are the scientists in your own field.
And these are probably your largest audience. But to have impact, you also need to reach scientists outside your field. And of course, before you can even get to either of these groups, you're going to have to get past an editor and the reviewers.
And if you're lucky enough to get through review, then it will go to readers. And those readers may be close and central to your domain of expertise, but they may be outside of your core expertise field, wanting to know the new information that you're trying to put out through your publication. But first and foremost are the editors of the journals that you want to submit to.
Remember, the one thing all of these people have in common is they're extremely busy and they're drowning in information. The first stop is the editor. Now, this person may not be an expert in your field. This person is very busy, handling 40 or more manuscripts at a time. They field inquiries from authors repeatedly throughout the day. They attend both internal meetings and conferences, just like you do, and they want to find the best papers for their journal.
Editors and reviewers are looking for novelty, completeness, accuracy, logic, and clear writing.
They are going to be asking, are there good reasons to proceed with this paper? On the flip side, are there good reasons to reject this paper? Is the paper within the journal's scope? Will this be one of our best papers? Can I convince my fellow editors to give up the space for this paper? So these are some of the questions they're thinking about.
If you get past the editor, your paper is going to get sent out to reviewers. These will be specialists in your field, so they can easily understand your paper.
They are also, though, very busy, and they have full-day jobs. They're running a lab, they're mentoring their students, they're attending administrative meetings, they're writing their own grants. They really want the review process to be very efficient, and they don't want to have to spend an inordinate amount of time trying to understand your paper.
The reviewer will first ask, is this correct? Is it technically excellent? Are all the controls in place?
And we ask them to think about whether, when they see this, they would react with, this is so cool. I can't wait to tell my entire lab. This changes everything. We have to go in a new direction. Or are they going to go, what were those editors thinking? Why is this in a science journal?
We cannot say often enough, read the instructions to authors. Read them carefully. Read the requirements for the journal and read the requirements for submitting your paper.
What can we do as editors to help you maximize your paper's chance for success? Well, obviously, nothing is going to substitute for good content, good, sound research. And also, to get into a top-tier journal, you need an important result that advances the field, not an incremental result. Your conclusions must be well supported by the experiments. Your statistics must be appropriate and sound, and the experiments must be properly controlled.
How can you ensure that your paper meets all these criteria? Well, the first thing to do is to run your own review process. Firstly, is the result important? And is it important enough for the journal I want to get into? Maybe it's a really good result, but you should rethink where you want to send it.
Do the conclusions advance new concepts? Is the approach original? Are the data reliable and reproducible? Do I have enough N to run statistics? Have I done my statistics properly? Maybe I should consult a statistician. Are the experiments properly controlled?
One of the things that's particularly good to do when you begin writing your paper is to present your findings in the structure of the paper that you intend to write to your colleagues, to your peers, and ask them to critique it.
We suggest you assemble your figures and make a presentation using the panels that you would put in your paper.
Then, give your presentation. Ask them to think about the following things. Are there any controls that are missing? Did I overinterpret my study? Have I done enough N values? Do you understand why this is important? At this point, you're almost ready to write. Incorporate the feedback from your colleagues. If necessary, go back to the lab. Do some more experiments. Make sure you've got your controls presented with the experiments that they go with. Make sure the flow of the figures and data are logical. And make sure that you've set the stage for your study adequately. This is an important feature of describing your research, especially in the results. You don't want the reader to not really understand what they're reading, and you don't want them to be looking at your figure saying, I have no idea what that data represents.
In the data section of your paper, it is good to remember just the facts. When you're presenting your data, that's what you want to present, just the facts. Don't interpret them, don't elaborate on them, present them clearly, completely, and logically, remembering that that data will need to be put in a repository somewhere where other people can look at it. Avoid specialized jargon. Remember that you'll have to define technical terms before you use them in acronyms.
Avoid imprecise words. Ones that we look out for all the time are regulates, alters, influences, impacts, affects. If you mean stimulates the activity of an enzyme, say that. If you mean increases the abundance of a transcript, say that. If you mean represses the expression of a gene, say that.
Remember to use simple words rather than complex ones. Multisyllabic, long, convoluted sentences does not help your science. In fact, it makes it more difficult to understand.
Avoid presenting published results as a historical review. We often get papers that start off with such a long review that we don't know whether this is a review or a research paper. Use simple declarative sentences, and if published work is not in dispute, present it as a fact. Don't say in 4 words what can be said in 1.
When you get one chance to say it, and you have to count every word, then say it in as few words as possible. Write accurately. Some things will set off reviewers right away. Claims of novelty. Most proteins exist in the world unless you engineered them in your lab. They are not novel. We just didn't know about them. Avoid speculation. The only place speculation belongs is in your discussion. Avoid superlatives. Your method is not the best. Your data set is not the most important. Remember that correlations are not cause and effect. Remember, as I said, written and spoken language are not the same. And don't anthropomorphize. Proteins are not people. Cells do not have feelings. Your paper's not a used car. Don't overinterpret it, overstate it, or oversell it. So you have looked at your paper, and now you're really happy. You think it's perfect. You're ready. What are you ready to do? Well, you're ready to send it back to your colleagues, someone in your lab who knows the work, and someone outside, and get them to read it now that you've put it all together. And especially if English is not your native language, we strongly recommend that you have someone who is a good English writer read it as well.
Have you eliminated all errors and typos? This seems such a simple point, but when your paper is riddled with errors and typos, it just puts your reviewers and editor into a bad frame of mind that you just don't want them in. Do your ideas follow logically, and does the text read smoothly? Are needlessly convoluted sentences avoided? Are the results described and not just a written statement of the data? Are the figures clear, well labeled, and selected to show the most critical information? And does the discussion appropriately account for other research? This is an important one. Papers fail because they did not cite the relevant literature.
Criticize yourself as you would criticize others.
Invite critique. Ask a scientist in your own specialty, ask a scientist in an unrelated specialty, and if necessary, ask someone who's a good editor of the English language. The more you improve your paper before you send it in, the better chance it has when it gets to us.
Ready, set, submit. No, wait, not yet. Think like an editor just for a second. You have a paper, but what is the editor going to see first? They're going to see your cover letter, your title, and your abstract. This is the chance you have to make a first impression. The cover letter is a place where you can use a more colloquial way of expressing yourself, less sophisticated technical language, and you can explain why your study is important and why it's exciting. The title. Think about your title very carefully. Did you overstate the conclusions? This is not going to fare well. I've had many papers that the reviewers have rejected because they say the title and the abstract are not supported by the data. And the abstract. Think about your abstract. Set the stage. Be very careful. Lots of journals have very strict word limits on their abstracts, so look at the directions carefully and make sure that you've got exactly what you need in the abstract for the paper, for the journal that you're submitting to. Now you've submitted your paper. You think you're an expert. Well, let's see if you are. Pencil edit while you read. Circle phrases, sentences that you read and go, I wonder what they mean there. And think about, would I have said it that way? Practice with your colleagues. Read what they write. Give them constructive guidance. Have them read what you write. Get constructive guidance. Don't be afraid of the red pen. It is your friend. And the editor is on your side. We all want you to get to that wonderful place where your paper has been accepted, the press office has called you, and they want to interview you for the press release. But you have to get there first. You have to get your paper written, you have to get it past the editor, you have to get it past the reviewers, and you finally have to get it into print. We hope with this video, some of these tips will help you get there.
Thanks for watching. To learn more about the American Association for the Advancement of Science and the premier science family of journals, please visit us at scienceonline.org.